So ideally, if this works, you're going to take people's top tens that they give you, average them, and then just shout out, "Hey, this is your average at the end." Like after we go through all of them.
I'm going to try to keep it organized if I can. And yes, so like as we get to the end of ours where you're sharing out, us four, I can say,
Yeah.
so the user so and so, here's yours, and just kind of rattle them like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I sent him this idea after we got off the call this afternoon, just as a way to try to get people actually engaged in using the chat a bit. So he sent me a copy of what he's using for us, and just so it's like one other thing that he doesn't have to try to be doing during it. I'm gonna try. I only copied out like 9 spaces for people, so we'll see if this works. It could definitely be a disaster.
Just make stuff up.
Yeah. Whatever I miss for a particular person, I'll just put my own stuff in those
Bloodshot.
slots. Bloodshot for
Bloodshot.
everything. That's the default. If you don't follow the rules, you get bloodshot for anything.
That's the average. Average.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bride Guy into Super Friends. This is part 2 of our 250th episode. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Josh Zortz, Mike Bradley, and Ian Leidick. If you want the fun intros, I'm going to have to force you to listen to part 1 because that's where they're at. So, consider that your tease for part 1. If you're, for whatever reason, just popping into part 2. So just to catch you up to speed, if you're just popping in, for our 250th episode, the topic for our episode was our top 10 favorite movies of 2020 and 2021. We did this episode live on Twitch, which I joked was going to be around 4 hours. We went about 4.5, so we exceeded what I jokingly thought was going to be a stretch. But that's just, I guess, what we do here. So the Twitch VOD is on my Twitch page. So if you want to check out the full 4.5 hours, you want to watch us see our faces for a change, it is on my channel, Jedi Bride Guy, on Twitch. It should be listed somewhere in the highlights section. I will put the link to the episode specifically in the episode description for this show. If you're listening to the audio portion, check the description. The link for the Twitch VOD should be there. I still have the link on the Facebook page, our Twitter account. So hopefully if you want to watch it, it is readily available for you to find. But since this episode was 4.5 hours, I decided to split the audio portion in half. We went over our number 10 to 6 picks in part 1. This episode will be the top half of our list, so we are starting at number 5, going to our top number 1 favorite movie of the last 2 years. And again, you hear me say it a few times during the episode, but thank you again for just listening to the show. Like, this thing has always just been a fun hobby for me and my friends to get together, kind of shoot the shit about the stuff we're into, and just the fact that anyone at all would actually care to listen and actually kind of give a crap about what we think about this stuff is still, like, just a kind of cool feeling. So, again, just thank you for checking us out, whether you dabble, whether you're regular, whether you just pick a random episode for whatever reason, the top half of our list. Cool. Like, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. It goes a long way. I never thought we'd hit 250. We are at 250. We'll just kind of see, I guess, how long this thing goes. I don't really have an end number in mind. It's already lasted longer than I ever thought I would do this. So, again, thank you one more time. But all right, I'm not going to delay this anymore. We're going to throw it right back into the countdown. So we're going to pick up with my number 5. All right, so since we already covered that, we'll swing over to my number 5. My number 5. Again, a movie that earlier in the year I thought was going to be higher, and then some stuff happened at the end of the year that kind of jumped up and took the spot. Free Guy is my number 5. I fucking love this movie. Anything that Sean Levy directs, I will be there for. I think he puts a lot of heart and soul into his movies. The immediate one that comes to mind is Real Steel. I fucking love Real Steel. And the fact that we're going to get some sort of possibly a series with him producing and stuff like that, I'm all for it. Give it all to me.
Is that the next movie on Rewind Theater, Real Steel?
No, it's Steel.
Just Steel. Yeah.
That's Shaq Fu the movie.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one for a while.
Next week, guys, we're recording on Steel.
But yeah, I thought Ryan Reynolds is fucking fantastic in this movie. It plays with the video game formula without really being based on a video game. It's hard with video game movies that aren't based on video games how they treat the culture and what's going to happen. I think they were good with it. Like they weren't making fun of gamers. They're not putting a bad light, I don't feel like, on the culture or the way games work. Like it was, I think, worked well enough for me. There's some really fun Easter eggs in it that near the end of the movie that I think are just literally crowd-pleasing moments. I think when I saw it in the theater, like it got reactions from the crowd, which is always fun when you see a movie with people. Yeah, this is another one that I think is just infinitely rewatchable. I will watch this anytime that it's on. I don't know if it's happening. I saw a tweet from Ryan Reynolds that it said, like, hey, for years I was tweeting this, like, standalone IP and just got the call from Fox and Disney that, hey, they want to make another one. So now we got to figure something out. But this was meant to be a standalone. So we'll see if it turns into a franchise. But yeah, I love it. I think it was great. Everything was cool all around. Anything else to add? Anybody else?
I think more to what you were saying, where they weren't making fun of gamers, they weren't using that opportunity that a lot of times movies like this would take that opportunity and kind of, take a shit on gamers in some way. They took a much more gamer-friendly stance in shitting on the corporate view of gaming today.
Right. Yes.
With Taika Waititi's absolute tool of a character.
That guy ruled.
I love when he tries
Wait, you
to
actually
do
watched this? Holy shit.
I saw it in theaters.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, let's celebrate that. I like when he tries to do the flip up from the back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He can't do it. You're like,
He's trying to do
that
a
was probably
kip
just
up.
like an improv, and he's like flapping around on the ground like a fish out of water.
I love that they took that approach to it. Let's point out that the real douchebags in the gaming community right now, especially like today, it's the idiots pushing NFTs that would be this exact character that Taika Waititi was playing. He would be the guy pushing NFTs
that about the
in games
CEO of
today.
Ubisoft.
What?
The CEO of Ubisoft, who just reaffirmed they're going to do more NFT work because gamers don't understand NFTs and their value.
Oh,
and
it's
secondly,
true. We don't get it yet.
I disagree with your points that they don't make gamers look bad. That one kid that's like real sleazy but greasy, that's streaming and does the interview with Guy, that kid set back gamers like 3 years. The guy that looks like his name would be Blade, the one that lives with his mother.
You mean the one that's like out for himself?
No, it's like the kid, they break
The
into
streamer
his
kid.
compound. Yeah. They break into his compound.
Yeah. Like he's.
Yeah, and he lives with his mom. He looks greasy as hell, and he's pasty, and he has no viewers.
Yeah, well, that's because they got a bunch of streamers to actually participate in the movie, and they
Was
couldn't.
Nick Merckx in it? I didn't notice.
I don't remember.
Was Tim the Tap Man in it? Didn't notice. I don't know who any of those people were. Except,
honestly, if it's not Dr. Disrespect at this point, I'm just lost.
Ninja was
just
there.
got us banned.
I saw Ninja.
Oh, dude, did he do the thing that no one cared about it? The New Year's Eve flossing.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Everyone could see me flossing. Anyways, I thought this was an average movie. It was enjoyable enough. I didn't love it. It is not on my list. It, I guess, could be on a disappointment list, but I wasn't that hyped going into it, so it wouldn't fall there. I just thought it was an action movie with Ryan Reynolds, so let's make it kind of funny, but we don't have anything to say. And let's let Ryan ad-lib some jokes and pray for the best. And that's kind of what I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was like, hey, yeah, this is the hellscape I think GTA Online is.
They do play with that a lot.
That is a reality of what GTA Online is. It's.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just, it's not a movie for me, I guess. Like, I know this is something Brian would enjoy. I'm not surprised sitting there. Once we got past the previews with his headphones in, I knew this would have its full attention. So, I agree. Like, for Brian's list, this makes sense where it plays. For me, it wouldn't place there just because I'm looking, obviously, for Gorilla Marriage.
That's the bar for you.
I think this is one of those movies that, like, while it's not going to make my list, I think this movie was better than it had any right being. Like,
I think the NPC other version of like Ryan Reynolds they did, I thought that was really fun and funny. Like when they made the like buff dude, the
Oh
buff
yeah.
version
He
of
wasn't
him.
Guy. What did they
Dude.
call him? Dude. Yeah, he wasn't Guy. He was Dude.
Like I thought that was fun. I don't know if that's a
That-
spoiler. Probably is, but oh well. We're here. We're live.
You know what? He put that out in.
Is it a
like-
trailer? Probably.
It's a Fortnite
Yeah, like-
character.
Actually,
there
is
were-
it a spoiler if trailers just tell us the whole movies nowadays?
Yeah, that's the fault of the trailer, or the fault of the trailer, which is why I can't watch trailers half the time anymore. But that's a whole other story.
I couldn't talk about Ghostbuster trailers for like a year.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah. So like I said, I would like to see what they do again, just because it doesn't seem like Ryan Reynolds has an idea of what they're gonna do again. You know, I sometimes that results in disaster, obviously, but sometimes they could pull out some wild idea you don't expect.
Yeah,
Or like maybe all those that's a spoiler, so I won't say it.
good. Yeah, Josh, what do you
Caught
think of the
myself.
movie?
It's in my need to rewatch to
Okay,
make a better opinion category. I liked it quite a bit in the theater experience. It's entertaining. It's fun. Albeit I thought it was very creative. I'm coming from a different position than you guys are, so some of the stuff that it's possible that things that seemed creative to me were very simple and derivative to you, but and I don't know, but it's possible. It was I guess like to Reynolds' point, it was nice to see something that seemed somewhat original.
yeah,
It's not the first time we've seen something of that flavor or kind of things like that, but this was not tied to anything else. And if they really did set out to just make a thing, and when they were done making it, it was supposed to be over, and you're just having fun making a cool, enjoyable popcorn movie, they did that.
because when this came out, this was making bank. Like it was top
Yeah.
top grossing movie for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, which I don't think anybody expected it to do. So suddenly, and this was a movie that got delayed forever. Like this was something Fox made, and then Disney bought Fox, and then it sat in the wings for a while and kept getting pushed with everything else going on. So it finally released, made a bunch of money, and so of course, once a movie that doesn't expect to make a bunch of money starts making a bunch of money, then it's like, all right, we got to make another one. How do we capitalize on this? So I would not be surprised if somehow they try to churn out a sequel of some kind.
Which is actually a plot point of a movie later on my list.
All right, anything else for Free Guy? Or we're going to Mike's number 5. Nope. All right, Mike, you're number 5.
All right, so my number 5, I'm just gonna read. I proofread it. There's not spoilers for anything that they didn't put out in their own promotional material for what this movie was gonna be. So we'll see how well versed you guys are. My number 5 is a movie that comes from Adam McKay, and this is very recent. I believe roughly 5 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
We got on Netflix Don't Look Up. If you don't know who Adam McKay is, I'll first preface that so you understand how established Adam McKay is as a director in Hollywood. Anchorman, Anchorman 2, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, The Big Short, and Vice are all movies this guy has directed. So obviously a lot of work with Will Ferrell there, who surprisingly doesn't appear in this movie. With, the star-studded cast that it does have. So in Don't Look Up, Adam McKay, once again, as he did with The Big Short, skewers our planet, country, and the unfortunate place we find ourselves in as human beings. A meteor is hurtling towards the Earth. And instead of listening to the scientists who want to take action to deflect the meteor from its path, our government turns to allowing private industry to maximize profit off of this apocalyptic rock. In a fashion all too real for us today, a large portion of the American public is actually misled into believing that the meteor is a hoax. And they incite the mantra, "Don't look up." As in, just don't fucking look at the meteor that's coming down to crash into us and destroy all of us. Just don't look at it, and it's not fucking real, and let them make their money off of it. that is right up until the moment that they look up and they can actually see it with their own eyes without a telescope, and the dumbasses realize we're all gonna fucking die. And this is kind of the basis for the movie. And it's a little bit too real with where we're at today, but I'm sure it was written with that intent to be like, boy, people are fucking stupid, aren't they? Let's make a movie about that. And that sounds very bad. But where this movie succeeds for me, one is Jennifer Lawrence's performance. Everybody here on this call, we're all millennials. And presented with the situation that Jennifer Lawrence's character is presented with, I feel like she just kind of handles it exactly how a millennial would handle anything. Fuck this, let's just get high. This is, like, what the fuck are we doing here? And her, I guess, response to all of it humanized the whole movie for me. And it put this movie in perspective of, like, if we were actually presented with this and all this, and it hits on so many levels of what would actually kind of happen, maybe, if things got out of hand with the messaging, because of how powerful things like social media can be. And her response and the way her character handles everything is just perfect. And then we have Leo DiCaprio, who, if you're not familiar, is maybe the best actor of our time and is never... Anybody naming bad Leo DiCaprio role? Anybody got one?
No?
Yeah, hold on. Give me Titanic.
Okay. Anyways, I'm not going to disagree. I can't, because I haven't watched Titanic in like 20 years, so I got nothing.
Also, I disagree. I'm Gen Z.
You are not Gen Z, sir. You are a millennial.
If you guys
Sorry.
are millennials, I'm Gen Z.
Sorry to inform you. Ian is also a millennial. He wants to be Gen Z. He's trying really hard to be, but he's a millennial. But his character deals with the mental health issues that you might see somebody presented with his situation in this movie so well, as you would expect from Leonardo DiCaprio. He takes it serious. He handles it. It's an incredible performance that pushes forward what might happen to somebody that is thrust into a spot of social media, of being a social media darling for a short time, and how that might fuck up their head. So, yeah, it's really well done. Jonah Hill kills it. I will point out his role as well. He kind of plays like a coked out president's child kind of thing. It's hilarious. Very much.
Chelsea Clinton. Bang. Nailed it.
Nailed it. But have you guys seen this movie? I'm sorry. I kind of went off on a tangent. I really like this movie. There's a lot that could have been done better, or it would have been a lot higher on my list. But
I did watch it. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. And I will say at least half of the reason for that is because, unfortunately, there is no such thing as satire anymore. And as I sat watching it, every step that occurred, I'm like, yeah, that's literally what would happen in our real world right now, and I can't convince myself otherwise. So by the end, I'm like, there's nothing like farcical about this that I can spin it to, and that makes me sad.
I think
it was a depressing take on our reality.
I do a little bit feel like, yeah, the way Josh just described it, I think that probably falls more in line with the way I thought when I watched it. Because I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, this cast looks good. Adam McKay, I'm all for. Let's check it out. And I think I same thing. I think I expected to like it more than I did. I came out kind of just mediocre. And yeah, it does leave you sad and depressed, which I think might be the intent of the movie. But I think just maybe it's just my expectations. Like I expected it maybe to be a little bit funnier, and just with Adam McKay behind it, I thought I'd come out of it, I don't know, laughing more or having more fun with it. But yeah, it is a depressingly realistic take on something like this, which I thought was a comedy, but it just plays more like future documentary.
Like, yeah, and
I feel like its comedy is much darker.
10 years ago, this would have been a comedy. Now it's like I said, satire is dead
Yeah.
because everything that
One, it's
used to
not,
be
too.
satirical
Hate
has
the onion.
happened.
I also think it's an issue with the film that they can't do new satire. So like, let's just make a movie that's about current events, but change the topic and pretend we're making a comedy because we are hacks who don't know what we're doing. This film was bad. It literally is just a retelling of modern society, but like, hey, it's a fucking asteroid. Like, be original, guys. If you want to do satire, make an attempt. Don't just make the fucking thing that's happening. It's like, if you're going to make a January 6th film, but make it a satire, but the whole plot of the movie is just, it's January 6th again. Except we feature the fucking shaman guy 10% more than what actually happened. Like, make an attempt at doing satire if you're going to make a satire funny film. That is the issue with this film. It wasn't satire. It was just, we replaced the bad thing.
Did you see it?
No.
Hang on.
I couldn't tell if we were just riffing off all the stuff we've said.
The thing
or
is,
if,
he's
like-
not far off.
I've
No, he's
seen
not.
the movie already through Twitter and Mike and you guys talking about it. I've seen the film.
I feel like the movie itself, while what you're saying is true, it's depressing. It just kind of points out our reality. It uses enough, I guess satire is a way to put it, even if you're not going to credit it as satire. It uses enough satire with just how ridiculous it could get.
And I think that's my problem is the reason that satire works, the reason that allegory works, is because you're pushing to a degree that you never expect to get in reality. There's a
Even
space
today,
that
would you
between-
expect this amount of stupidity?
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
Nothing
yeah, you're right.
surprises
I would
me
too.
anymore.
I would too.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying it should, like, hey, Mike, you should think worse of this because of that reason. Not whatsoever. Just the reason that it hit me and that I wish I could enjoy it more is for that. I couldn't get past the idea that, in the way that Ian very oddly was able to characterize it, that distance between the extra little distance that creates satirical situations doesn't exist for me anymore. There's nothing really that you could say that would come off as an exaggerated response by the public or leaders.
But I don't think that's
or
a fault
industry.
of the movie. I think that's a fault
No.
of society.
Oh, correct. That's the thing.
Yeah,
And-
I think that's the point we're making.
exactly.
And I think
exactly.
that the movie is very good at pointing that out. in
Oh,
and
for
of
sure.
Itself.
Yeah.
True.
That
Yeah, but then
it-
at that point, to make the movie good, I think you would have to make it a meta commentary of the fact that satire is dead, which is a
Is it
completely
not?
different film.
It-
But
but
that's a
is it
different
not
film.
that film making that point that
No,
you're
I think it's a
watching
film
this and you're
failing to make
seeing
satire.
how stupid these people are that they won't even look up at a meteor, and you're saying, "Man, I really believe people would be that stupid." Is the film not making that point?
No, I don't. I think the film's making
You
the
didn't
point
watch
that we
it.
should all be vaccinated. But I think if
You
I
didn't
want to be
watch it.
depressed,
You
I
didn't
would
watch
watch
it.
Grave of the Fireflies. You know, if I want to get real sad.
Part of the thing I think that hits me too, that maybe why I came out of it just mediocre and feeling crappy afterwards, is like, movies are my escape. Like, I don't want to be reminded about the real world every time I watch a movie. I want to be distracted from everything that's going on. That's what I
See,
see movies
Yeah,
for.
that's why you watch
And
Ready
I
Player
was
One.
able to rewatch
Everyone
it.
lives in a hellscape.
I was able to rewatch this movie a few times because
What the fuck?
as somebody who hasn't even
Just
watched
watch
it once,
CNN.
this isn't. Look, what Leslie had to say about it there. I fucking love fingerling potatoes. That line from the movie is in and of itself just such a real representation of how I feel about all this dumb shit that it actually resonated with me. Like, it hits a different note on for some people than for others. And for me, it hit a note of, I can watch this and I get where they're coming from. Like, man, fuck this shit. I just want to God damn it. And as opposed to, God damn it, I'm going to get angry and all this, it's like, let me just smoke a joint and forget about it. And that's kind of what this movie was pushing you towards. Like,
I feel like the movie just seems like let's wallow in misery and not be proactive and do something. I think that's my other issue right now from what I'm hearing. It's let's
Says the
smoke a
guy
joint,
who hasn't
give
seen the
up.
movie.
Smoke a joint, give up, world's over, we lost. Let's not
Well, no,
actively
like,
better ourselves.
The smoke a joint moment is like,
I mean, that's what you
oh
keep
crap,
referencing.
I just got told that a meteor's about to hit Earth. And the immediate response from the millennial is like, I gotta get high.
To process it at that point, to deal with it. If there are people who can watch this in like 10 to 15 years, and we are at a different point as a civilization by
If
then,
things have gotten better, you're saying?
in a way that like it will mean something different to them, because it's not as much of a reflection of looking out the window and turning the TV on as it is right now. And that's the part of it that, not that I didn't dislike the movie, I didn't enjoy it as much because it's too similar.
Poignant?
Yeah.
Too on the nose?
Yeah.
And again, Mike, we're not trying to take away your enjoyment of the movie. This is why
Not
it
at
just
all.
didn't hit Josh and I the way it did.
Again,
Of course.
I get it. I get why you wouldn't enjoy this movie. It sucks. It's the same reason people didn't like Al Gore's movie back in like 2000 or 99 or whatever the fuck he made it.
Wasn't that a documentary?
I mean,
This might as
200
well
years from now, people might see this as one.
So is this basically just Doctor Strangelove?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, like it's
not worth
there's,
seeing.
There's similarities, but not enough.
Didn't have
to
Kubrick.
say.
I get it.
All right, anything else for Don't Look Up? Because we've spent a considerable amount of time on that, and we're still
Don't
only
watch
number
this
5.
movie. Boom. Nailed it.
Ian, you're number 5. What do you got?
Mortal Kombat!
What?
You shouted too much and your mic cut out.
Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Like it was literally just your mic was just like, nope, we're not gonna listen to this.
Couldn't do
it's
it.
too loud. We're passing on that.
I appreciate
All right,
the effort,
cool.
though.
Mortal Kombat, go.
That's like an hour ago. Listen to it. You already did.
Yeah, at this point, we just got to blow past the ones we've already talked about before. So, Josh, you're number 5.
Crap, I wasn't ready. Okay. Number 5. I don't really have much else to say about this. We did a review semi-recently. My number 5 is Eternals.
Ooh, okay.
And I didn't expect, as I was shuffling things around, for it to land this high. I did a rewatch, saw it once in theaters, did a rewatch again, like within the last, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks. And just kind of like reaffirmed and reminded me how beautiful of a shot movie it is. And I don't know, I like it. I know it apparently hasn't done well with most audience attitude, perhaps. I really
I'm
dig
still
it.
surprised the mixed reaction this movie seems to be getting.
Yeah, audience score
I don't know.
78.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess maybe it's one of those idiotic things where you see too many. You're scrolling past, and some jackass writer who has to produce 5 articles for their stupid website a day writes things like "the internet is saying" and "Marvel fans are aghast or upset about." I hate that shit.
Yeah.
So and maybe like I said, I go past them because my stupid algorithms are putting that crap in front of me. That's maybe the impression I'm left with. Aside from the juvenile, I didn't like this movie because it was woke arguments that I see sometimes. Like that aside, I'm not even entertaining that crap. I think it was it's very similar to Suicide Squad. It was a real challenge to bring a first-time story with a dozen main characters.
Yeah.
And we talked about
Which
this at
Suicide
length.
Squad?
We talked about this at length. There were pros and cons, there were strengths and some weaknesses to it and whatnot. But after viewing it again recently, yeah, I think I dug it a lot.
This was one that I felt like should have made my list, and it hit honorable mentions for me. I really thought it was going to crack my top 10, but when I started putting the list together, I kept it off. surprisingly, because I do really like this one. I think it, like you said, I think it's beautifully shot. I think the action sequences are done in a way that no other Marvel movie has shot. Like, considering we got Shang-Chi, which shot action completely different and went kung fu-y, and this one shot action, I think, completely different. And so, like, I don't know what it is about the action, but maybe it's just the camera angles or something that they do with this one, but I never feel like I'm confused with what's going on. I think they pick really cool angles to make, to have you inside the action almost for some of their shots that I could think of. And even, like, I could see the story getting a little bit confusing maybe, and I think the explanation as to why these characters were not involved in the MCU up until now works for me. They kind of gloss over it, but it was fine. I do want to see more of them and see this corner of the MCU and see what happens and where they go from here, because I think there's a lot of cool characters in here that I'd like to see more of.
Do you think we'll get the Inhumans back?
I don't know what they're doing with Inhumans, honestly.
I mean, based on what they gave us already, I hope not.
Well,
I assume
that's
they'd bring
the
it
TV
into
side.
the movie.
Yeah, that's we'd like to
It would
see
be a
some of the
Feige.
movie stuff happen, or a series on Disney Plus that's under Feige. Like, give him Inhumans and see what he does with it.
I think only if it matters anymore. I mean, like, now that you have this group, do you need them?
No, but they're gonna make the X-Men movies.
Yeah, I mean they're
Yeah,
hitting
the
every
Inhumans,
corner.
in terms of the comics, take a whole different role than what the Eternals do. The Inhumans are really, really closely tied to the X-Men.
But I mean, I guess to Josh's point is that also just going to be too many characters for the next 6 phases if you add in another giant team.
The next
Yeah.
Avengers movie is going to be 50 characters all on screen at once.
I mean,
It's literally
and
just the X-Men, Eternals, and the Inhumans.
Oh, it's all
And
these
that's
teams
already-
instead of single
that's
characters.
just
and
too
then the
many
Fantastic
characters.
Four and all the, like, you've got so much coming in. Like, yeah,
No one's going
I-
to make a Fantastic Four movie ever again.
They're going to have
It's
the
coming.
Avengers Team 1, the Avengers Team 2. Like, it's going to be different sects of the Avengers.
Avengers West Coast! Let's go!
West Coast Avengers,
Finally!
They could do that. Ian, I know you didn't see this one, but Mike, what'd you think of Eternals?
I had views.
It was okay. You know, I think it's a movie that I enjoyed, but it was never going to make my list. It had some really cool moments. It had a lot of setup, I guess, for the future. But in general, it just didn't resonate with me as much as some of the other MCU side teams have in the past.
Yeah.
I see a movie like Eternals popping up. I'm thinking, I know Guardians of the Galaxy is a bad example to hold it up to, but it's really the only one out there of a completely obscure group to bring in to the MCU that is
Right.
not as well known in the mainstream and all that, and it's not even close to Guardians for me. Like, it's not in the same stratosphere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've rewatched it and it's still decent, but just not great for me.
That's fair.
If you want to know more about why, you can listen to our review of it. Because without
Episode
spoiling,
267.
thank you for pulling that. That doesn't sound correct because we're already at 250 for this episode, and that's like in the future. But
We'll have to make sure we
That's
revisit
Steel.
Eternals for
That's what
267
we're,
now.
no, that's what
Yeah,
we're
we're
doing.
gonna do it
Steel.
that's when we're doing Steel. 17 episodes from now.
If I had
But
my
yeah,
way,
like
yes.
I without spoiling anything, you know, my favorite character didn't get the service that I wanted, and that's without spoiling anything. That's the most I can say.
Yes. That's correct. Ian, you said you had thoughts even though you haven't seen the movie.
I do know. I was lying.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, you were lying about what?
Cut this. Write it down. Write it down, nerd.
But so what, you were lying that you hadn't seen the movie and you have seen the movie?
He's
Okay,
lying
so
that he had
Eternals-
comments not seeing the
my-
movie.
My issue with Eternals is trying to remember the trailer. So there's a bunch of these people. Why? Why is there so
Stop
many?
the
of them?
trailer? Yes, I'm cutting this. We're moving on. What's this? All right, we're done with Josh's number 5. Go on to my number 4.
All right.
All right, so my number 4 is if we're gonna, I'll spoil it to say that this is even one of my surprises because I did not think it was gonna make my top 10. I'm surprised it made the top 5. Mitchell's versus the Machines on Netflix, the animated movie. I freaking love that movie. I think it is shot in a way like the animation for that movie is, it does something different that I think almost like Spider-Verse did different, where Spider-Verse definitely feels like a comic book. This is CG, but its texture is different, where it almost feels hand-drawn. They put like hand-drawn accents on stuff that happens in the movie. All the characters are great. It's funny as hell. Like, I just rewatched it recently just to make sure I wanted to put it this high on my list, and it is freaking great. This is another one that I think is infinitely rewatchable. I would highly recommend this to anybody that's looking for something just fun to watch. If you haven't checked it out, I'd highly recommend giving it a shot. It's on Netflix. Mitchell's versus the Machines. Did anybody else watch this?
You mentioned how much you liked it, and I it's on my list to watch. It didn't make the...
Okay.
I unfortunately watched 21 movies in 3 weeks. This didn't make the cut.
This is the first I've ever heard of it.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
I don't know if
Thank you.
both of the guys are in it, but Phil Lord and Chris Miller are involved in this one also. I don't think they directed. They might have produced or wrote or something along the lines, but it's the same guys that did Spider-Verse. They're involved in this one too. So
That's all the reason I need.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. Josh, what do you think of it since you saw it?
Yeah, this was one that I had written down on the list and watched sometime since January 1st. I remember you had made a comment about it a few months ago, and I had some a coworker who had also said she enjoyed it very much. Maybe if because it was very recent, so maybe if I revisit again in a couple of months, I'll have a better view of how really how I feel. You're right, it is very fun from beginning to end. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It has all those like just stop and sometimes change animation styles for 5 seconds to insert jokes and whatnot in it. It was very creative. It was very cool.
There's a Furby reference in this middle of this movie that I did not expect that had me laughing hysterically for a while too. I almost feel like if I remember right, this movie had a different title when it was announced, and I had my eyes on that movie, and then it changed titles, and I thought the movie wasn't being made, and then I found out they changed the title to Mitchell's versus the Machines, which I think originally, if I didn't research it or double check it, but I thought it was going to be just like Mitchell's Family Vacation or something. Like, it was meant to set up like a family road trip. So the whole twist of like, hey, the AI goes crazy and they have to fight these machines would have been the surprise of the movie. And then they changed the title to basically tell you what's going to happen, which I think it would have been more fun just going in blind without knowing that. But I don't think it takes away from the enjoyment of the movie. I think it is still just fun as hell. All right, anything else? Oh, I got to fucking update the list. All right, so we'll go to... Mike's number 4.
I'm going to give Brian some time to update the list and intro this a little bit longer than it needs to be because we've already talked about it. I'm just kind of watching him for a little bit of a cue.
Well, it's delayed, so just go for it.
And this is Last Night in Soho is my number 4.
Okay. Then that moves on to Ian's number 4.
Unlike Bad Boys for Life, this movie knew how to handle a title. Matrix 4 Resurrection. For my thoughts, listen to episode 249.
That does track, yes.
Maybe we did just
talk about that.
Yeah, that was last episode, guys. So
if you're wondering, my score has now gone higher from last time. As I said, this score will keep rising, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. As Will Smith said, what is this, some kind of quasi-sequel reboot? Yes, and it was fantastic, and I didn't love it at first, like I said, and I fell in love with it, and I really liked what Lana did with this one, and I really just like the Wachowskis catalog as a whole. I'm very excited for when we get to Speed Racers, and
I am excited for that as well.
Which is, I think, on a wheel. I don't know which wheel.
It's on the main wheel. So we have like it could come up any week now.
It's a 1 of 6. It's 1 of 6.
I guess my last thing to say
any
this
week
one,
as we have recorded.
We discussed last week you probably should watch the first 3 before you watch this one, but if not, just fuck it, go into it. There's a great scene in it. There's a 5-minute like pitch meeting that I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I won't talk too much about it because we did just talk about it. But yeah, it was mediocre for me. I think it was fine.
They all gave it 6s.
Didn't live up to the expectations I think I had for it. So I actually have it right now listed on my disappointment list just because I had a high bar for it and it did not meet that bar. So that's what I expect. That's fine.
It's
Totally
on my
fine.
disappointments as well.
Fall Guy, 3 guys now on my disappointment.
I figured
Fuck you.
that's fine. Anything else to add for Resurrections, or we'll go to Josh's number 4? Nope. All right, Josh, your number 4.
All right, I am going to cheat on this one, but I think I have a case
Whoa,
to make.
whoa.
What?
If he
Determine
does this,
that.
I'm putting cats on my list.
Yeah, like I would say, like if we're going like Jaws. All right, Jaws is on my list now.
No.
I'm cheating.
No, let me make the case. It'll make sense. This was again, you know what, we really need to get Netflix as a sponsor. Jesus Christ. This is another Netflix project. Here's the cheat. This was a trilogy that I honestly think technically is one comprehensive project. So I'm calling it one movie. This is the Fear Street series that Netflix did.
I'll allow it.
It came out in, I think, like July last summer. It was 3 parts. So they put them online like a week apart each. And there was Fear Street 1994, 1978, and 1666. And it also works because by the time you get to the end of the third one, it connects enough, and I don't want to go any further than that. But if you're a horror fan, these were really well-made horror movies. I thought. I wouldn't even call them horror. I don't think I would. I think they're scary.
horror.
They're scary movies.
That's horror.
It is. I think just that.
Wait, Josh,
that
can
word,
you go on an ire diatribe between the difference between scary movie and horror movie?
if you'd like to, how much time do we have?
I asked Brian because I don't think he's amused with me really wanting to hear about this.
I think those words hit people differently, is why I'm using them. I think they were honestly really well done. We were really shocked at the first one. We had seen some advertising for the series a couple weeks before it came out, and we watched the first one like the weekend it was available, and we're like, oh my god, when's the next one? And we like devoured the other 2 the day that they released, and we were just really impressed. The composition of the whole thing, especially as a trilogy, but as this like big cohesive like one thing, was really cool. Again, not a whole lot else to say without ruining why it's special. But if you like scary movies and like really cool horror, look them up. Like the time goes by nice and easy. I know it's 3 movies, but you could literally sit down and watch them all straight through, and like that's your Friday night. It works really well.
And
3 questions.
and I think
hold on.
opposed to a standard 3 movies that you might expect now, you're talking more closer to 4.5 hours, about 90 minutes each, than
Yeah.
you are talking to like 6 to 8 hours with 3 other movies that might be longer, in today's terms.
So 1 Snyder cut.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
What's
talking
this on- what's
watching the
this on
Snyder Cut
scale?
in terms of length. These are actually something I had not considered like including them together and cheating. Like if I was going to separate them and include just one, I'd do the middle one. Would be my personal favorite of the 3. Whatever year the years are confusing.
It was 78 was the middle.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The middle.
Came out It came out in 78?
No,
No,
that's
no,
just
no,
the
they-
subtitles.
Okay.
They were entitled
Sorry.
like Fear Street 19 whatever, Fear Street whatever, and then there was like one that was like 1600
I
and
thought
something,
Josh
right?
was like wrapping these 3 movies like from 1960, 1978, and then 2020 into one thing. I was like, what the fuck?
Yes,
No,
this
no,
film
no,
from
they-
1666 is really. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm getting like film school snob here, but really, let's think about it.
These were really, really, really good. I had actually forgot about them when I was making my list. Otherwise, they might have made my list. And I think the way that they presented them as 3 different parts kind of made me forget them and think of them more as like a series as opposed to a movie.
Yeah,
And I think that's just why it didn't occur to me when I was making my list to put them on there.
Yeah, like going in, like I figured, oh, this is some kind of like anthology mini series or something that they're doing,
Right.
And then by the beginning of the second one, you realize, oh no, wait, this is a literal like straight continuation, kind of messing with the time, like the
Sequel.
time frames become appropriate to the grander story being told.
Right.
And it just all works together really well. And it was just such a different way to do, the storytelling and the presentation of it, sort of as these seemingly 3 standalone pieces or whatever, but it's all just one.
Although I do have to say, I'm disappointed you did not let this take up 3 spots on your list.
Well, here's the thing. Either he's putting it
Each
into a
individual one.
trilogy and he's not getting any ratings from the Rotten Tomato score, or you give me one movie to pick out of those 3 so I can give you a score.
What was your favorite?
What's the most favorable?
Well, no.
Done it.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite?
I saw that, Ian.
That's what you get to choose.
We only watched them once, so let's go with the middle. Yeah, I think you're right. For first memory, I think the middle was pretty solid.
That was the one with the girl from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I thought was.
So that's Fear Street, 1978.
78.
So while Brian's doing that, I have a couple questions. Is this anything like the Goosebumps films?
No.
No.
Nothing at all.
Does it pull anything from any of the Fear Street books?
Apparently,
Like
yes. That's what Sarah
Okay,
tells me. That
gotcha.
it's
Oh,
kind of based on
That
those in some way.
I
Third-
didn't even know those were books.
is it like a trilogy because they're connected, or like is
Yes.
it like a loose connection, or
Oh,
like
no,
a
it's
strong?
Very
Strong.
strong, direct,
Okay,
complete. Yes.
Yeah, it's very clear that they are like.
It-
but it's
fully
like it's an
connected.
exact continuation.
It is. Yeah,
Yes.
it's telling
Okay.
different historical periods of the same connected
Phenomenon.
narrative.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems cool. I have to check it out.
Yeah.
You say this on Netflix?
Definitely worth
Mhm.
it. Yes.
All right, so we got Josh's number. I can't chime in for this one because obviously I did not see this, so we're just going to move on.
Brian didn't watch a horror movie?
I know, big surprise.
You didn't watch 3 horror movies
It's on brand.
Yeah, I know. A trilogy of horror movies that Brian skipped.
based on teen novels written by R.L. Stein?
All right, so we'll move on to my number 3. This is where it got really hard for me to figure out where. Well, I feel like 1 and 2 was pretty locked. Any other year, this could have been my number 1.
Oh man, Ghostbusters fell this low.
No.
What?
But he made my
I'm actually
top of my
surprised
list
at that.
before. 2 other years, 2 previous
Wow.
years. Putting it at number 3, Denny V and Dune hit my number 3 spot.
Wow.
The title.
I was
the champion
anticipating
has
that to
fallen.
be the 2.
Yeah.
I was anticipating this is 2.
I
This is 3.
I mean,
I
I'm
am
disappointed in you.
shocked.
I can't
Yeah, I gotta say, I am.
I can't say anything bad about it. Like I love the movie. I think it's beautifully shot. I think I know I said this in review. I said it in the theater. I think Denny V deserves a Star Wars movie. I don't know if he'll ever do one, but god damn it looks like a Star Wars movie. I was worried I'd hate that it just comes up at the beginning of the movie and says part 1. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm gonna be here for 3 hours and it's not gonna end. It's fine. Like I'm just that much more looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I didn't really know anything going in. I didn't see the original 1984 movie. This was a whole new experience for me trying to decipher Dune and figure out what was going on. I think it did a good enough job for a newbie like me to follow the movie and not lose track of what's going on. Yeah, I loved it. Denny V still delivers. Just because he's at number 3 does not mean this is a bad movie. It's still fucking excellent. So anyone should check this out also. I assume this is going to hit some other people's lists.
No, you're the only one.
I
Disappointing.
find that to be a lie.
It made my disappointing. So I guess I'll read what I have written down for it. They did it, lads! The unfilmable film was filmed, and it was film goodness. Director Dennis Villanueva showed the absolute sickening terror of a large-scale planetary bombing and invasion. He showed the monstrous beauty of the worm. He cut the intrigue in gray into black and white. At the end of the day, he made one of the best sci-fi films of his generation. I think Dune was a masterclass film. This would easily go on probably a film of the decade list for me, I think. I think it's one of the best sci-fi films we've ever gotten. I've read Dune twice now, which I don't know if that sounds like a small feat, but it's like 900 fucking pages. It took me like a week on vacation to get through it again.
Weird flex, but okay.
I'm
kidding. Go ahead.
I was shirtless the whole time.
That's an important detail.
I just picture
really
you
paints that
poolside
image
reading
like really
Dune.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's girls taking like TikToks and Instagrams at the Las Vegas pool. I'm reading Dune.
only if you have like the utmost like tank top tan lines going on with like the sunscreen
on the nose. Yeah.
Just
Zinc,
lotion
the zinc
on
on
my
the
nose.
nose. It's got to be the blue zinc too. It's
I know I've mentioned this person to Brian before, but I have a coworker at work that likes a lot of the same films I do, and she makes fun of me for not being more caught up on the MCU. And we accidentally ended up talking about Dune for a half hour after my business meeting one day. I love this film. I'm so happy they finally like made a worthwhile Dune, unlike that piece of shit they did the first time. The anthology wasn't the worst thing. But, like, they made a really good Dune, and my only real criticism of the film is that, like, Jason Momoa is too charismatic for Chalamet to be the main character. Like, he's just too good. That's just my only real criticism, is that you clearly are like, Jason Momoa's the... If you don't know Dune, I think, going in, you almost would rather follow Momoa, I think, than pay attention to Chalamet. Do I have powers? Am I powers? Do I understand? Do dune sands fall from time and the spice eats my mouth? You know, all that weird shit going on. But I think they did, like, what they cut from the film, I understand, and I will forgive them for doing, because it allowed Dune to be made. If they were to film what I think Dune could be, which is the whole fucking book uncut, it would never be made. And
that would need to be like a series that somebody that was really into it funded and didn't care that it was drawn out too long.
welcome to my pitch to HBO Max for Zack Snyder's next feature. To Brian's point, like I said, that planetary invasion, which I guess is there's a planetary invasion. I don't care. There's a planetary invasion of some
That's
point.
not really
of,
a spoiler. It's
I don't know.
space.
There's a planet that gets
It's a
invaded,
sci-fi-
and it's the most
It's a sci-fi
badass,
movie. Planetary
fearful,
invasions are a thing.
terrifying thing. And if they were to, like, Star Wars kind of blows in that perspective because they use a Death Star to blow shit up, and there's no fear. It just happens. But if they were to do like a High Republic or an old school thing where you actually had to bombard a planet, like Star Wars film, that's what I want Denny V to be in charge of, is that space battles don't have that raw visceral of like ground combat, I think, usually, and he brought it, and I was terrified for those people. I knew what was going to happen to them. I've read the book. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I've read the book, and I was scared for them, and this film should have won Best Picture.
Just out of curiosity,
What did win Best Picture?
Did the
cares?
did the Oscars happen?
I don't know.
I have no idea. Like, I don't follow that shit. 'Cause I don't
honestly
care.
have no idea.
But if it wasn't this, what was it?
Ian, have you
Fuck.
seen any other Denny V movies? I don't know if we talked about that before or not.
You would have to list them.
Prisoners.
Blade Runner,
Blade Runner
Arrival.
2049, Arrival, Prisoners.
None. No.
You should
I
watch
guess so.
Blade Runner for sure. I don't
It's
know
on
about
the
Arrival
list.
or Prisoners, but you would definitely like Blade Runner.
I gotta watch that before I watch the cartoon.
Who did Sicario? Was that him too?
Yes. The
Yeah.
first
Oh,
one.
I saw Sicario. Sicarios
Okay.
great.
The first
Okay.
one.
Do
Yeah, yeah.
Sicario
So
too?
then you've seen two.
Did
I
he
don't.
do the
I don't know if he
second
did
one?
the second one. Honestly.
Probably
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, the
He's
first
not a
one was
sequel
better.
kind of guy, but he will be with Dune, so that's good.
Well, it's really one film. They just made him take a break.
Yeah, it's one story.
It's all one song.
All right. So you got a little bit of Denny V under your belt. Mike, what do you think of Dune?
I love this movie. You know, it's not really a spoiler to say at this point this appears on my list, but higher. This, I think Ian stated everything just about as well as she could. This was about as good as a sci-fi movie that you can ever make. I can't improve upon this movie. We've talked about my thing for Jason Momoa before. We've discussed it. So that was Ian's only detraction. It's not really a negative for me. Just, it's not a negative. It is what it is. I have nothing bad to say about this. This needs to be 50 movies. They need to just keep letting Denny V make Dune movies and let him just continue this process.
Dune Messiah's next. Let's go.
I couldn't have wanted anything more from it. I think, what Ian said, like, you can't, for a movie that you're going to put into theaters, you can't put every little bit of context that is in the novels onto film. You can't do it. It's too much. There's too much exposition, too much stuff that mass audiences won't watch. That's just how it is. And that's okay. Because what they did with it was they pulled out everything that needed to be a part of this, and they put it in. And you add on top of that the directorial prowess that Denis Villeneuve brings, and you get these amazing shots on top of it, and the cinematography that adds to it to bring it to life. There's not enough praise I could give this movie. This is, I think, far and away the best film of the year.
Well, I guess I'll be
Personally.
surprised if it's not number one for you then. Yeah,
Two
you have to
years.
say.
So
We'll
there's 2
get
years.
there. We'll get there.
There's 2 years,
2
Brian.
years. It's 2 years. That's true.
Josh,
You have to wait and find out.
Josh, what do you think of Dune?
So this is absolutely at the top of my need to rewatch first list. I don't know
So
why.
it didn't make your top 10?
No.
Oh.
And it's not that I didn't
Throw his list out.
It's not that I
Validated.
didn't dislike it. I don't know what it was. Like, beginning the next day after we watched it, I don't remember a damn thing about it. I don't know why. It's that, like, never happens to me. But
You've upset Ian.
I wanted to. Like, I think
Visibly upset.
I think part of it, and I knew this kind of going in, I had really, really wanted to see this in theaters. This seemed like a theater movie. We weren't able to get there, and so we caught it like the last day on HBO Max before it left in like that initial 30-day window, and it hasn't been back yet, I don't think. So I know not going to get the chance to see it in the theater at this point again, but
Well, right before Dune 2.
oh yeah, something like that, right? They'll do a re-release. The moment that it comes on, I'm gonna make time as quickly as possible to put that at the top of the priority list. I literally don't know. I can't explain it. There's like snippets of scene imagery that I can recall, but every part of it might be, and this is my only defense. We tried, as I mentioned before, like we tried to rewatch the 1980s Dune because I had only seen it once in college. I think Sarah had never seen it. And we were trying to watch that before and it was, as you, like Ian said, I think, or one of you, like, it was god awful. Like, it, for whatever, I don't know, people have a different opinion of it, of that era. Like, I don't think it aged. It's nearly unwatchable to me.
What I remember
To be
about
fair,
you-
I've never met anybody that loves that movie. It's like, oh yeah, this was amazing.
I've never
Everything
seen
I
it.
hear about it's negative.
I've never seen it, but I remember Josh, who typically watches a shit ton of movies, say I tried 3 times to get through it and couldn't, and that's enough for me. I will never seek this movie out ever.
Like, they have the belts they put on that give like them the field. What they do in that last movie is this like weird triangle shaped thing across the body, and it is the worst special effect I think has ever occurred. Like,
Yes.
there's like, you can just do bad special effects where it looks poor quality, but this was poor execution, poor design, just like a masterclass in don't fucking do this for an effect. And they did it and filmed the fucking movie.
To be honest, like the effect they put in that he's referring to, we could probably create while we're still talking, paying zero attention in the background, recording this podcast. We could probably create it. Just it's that bad.
Like
Like
so
it's
bad.
literally just inserting a fucking pixel art polygon over the top of a character on a screen.
It's so bad. Modern
it's-
After Effects would ask if you're having a stroke if you tried to apply it.
Yeah, like the thing to remember is like you had movies like Ghostbusters around the same time being made that had really good effects at the same time as this.
And I think for us, part of it was we were trying to. So Dune was released while we were on vacation, and so we were trying to do the Lynch rewatch before we saw it and before we went on vacation. As I said, we got like a half an hour into it. We're like, we need a break. We went back, watched like 20 minutes. Need a break. And it wasn't even like we started from the beginning again. Like maybe it'll be better. Like we tried to keep going and just didn't make it. And then we went on vacation. We got home, had to do all that, had some like life stuff happening. So like maybe it's just like wrong sequence of events there. But I have nothing bad to say about it. I literally have like retained nothing to form an opinion.
I do think the theater
fair.
experience helped. Like, I saw this in IMAX, and it was fucking great in the theater.
It probably was. I'm sad that we weren't able to see it that way. But yeah, to Ian's point, like they very well may have a re-release whenever the next one is ready in a year or two, or whenever they get to it. So if they do that, definitely we'll hop back, and I'm sure we'll watch it again before then.
I would love to do that as a group, guys. If they re-release it and they put it in IMAX as a double feature,
That's a day. Like,
it's a day, but it's something, you know. We review podcasts. It's a thing we do. We review movies for podcasts.
I mean, we saw
It's like-
Ghost in the Shell.
It's true, and that was amazing. Even
That
though
was just,
like
that was just the start of the Super Friends field trips.
yeah, exactly. We got to get funding for this, Brian. What's going on?
yeah, right.
Buy some more shirts, Mike.
I should have put up the donation
Oh
button.
shit!
Fund our movie-going experiences, please. People in chat.
Want us to watch something? Pay for it.
All right,
we
so
just
move on.
invent Patreon.
There
we go.
Yeah, I might have to start that. All right, so move on to Mike's number 3.
All right, so we were bound to talk about this eventually. We knew this would make pretty much everyone's list that saw it. I don't know if Ian saw it or not. But it's time to talk about some White Spider Liquid.
Hashtag White Spider Liquid in chat.
Hashtag White Spider Liquid. That's right, because we're about to talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home. The best Spider-Man movie I have ever seen, and it's number 3 on my list. That tells you how actually good the last couple years have been. That the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen comes up number 3 because of a couple movies we've already talked about, but we'll keep that for spoilers on the list. This movie was amazing. This was fucking great. You know, there's so many spoilers that we can't talk about with this movie. So it's really hard to talk about all the reasons that it's great.
I'll be honest, I got somebody at work that I've been trying to get to see this movie since it came out, and he hasn't
Somebody
got there
actually
yet.
hasn't seen it. That was
Yes.
what was going through my head when I'm thinking about spoilers for this movie, because of how much money it's made, that there's still actually people that have not gone out and seen
And I've
it.
asked him if he stayed away from everything, and apparently he's still been able to stay away from the spoilers.
That's impressive.
And it is still in theaters.
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's still there. This movie has my single best Peter coming of age moment in it that any of the movies have done. I'm trying to do this spoiler free, and I see you laughing at me, but I'm
No,
trying
he's
to
laughing
do it
because coming of
spoiler-free.
age, and you're wearing a shirt that says White Spider Liquid on it.
Yeah,
and
all right.
Spider-Man's is an allegory for like puberty.
I get it. I get it. He's shooting his white spider liquid all over the place. It's happening. It's going everywhere, okay? And
This is why we do this on the stream, right? This is a visual experience now with Ian. This works so well.
You used to be able to buy this shirt. It is now a limited edition of 1. I am the only person that ever bought one. I am the only person that has this shirt. Sucks to be you, I guess. However, this movie does everything that a Spider-Man movie could do. I really honestly believe that. It touches on every little bullet point that you would want a Spider-Man movie to touch on. I can't I don't know how to talk about this movie without spoiling.
Well, it's fine because
anything.
that'll speed this up so we can finish at some point.
I agree. So I know it appears on definitely Brian's list, probably at number 1 or 2, since he's
that's
already
all that's
done
left.
3.
So,
it sets up the next phase of Marvel as well, at the same time as it does everything that it can do for Spider-Man as a character. It sets up the next phase of Marvel and where we're going, and it gives us an idea and hints and all these ideas of what the MCU might be doing next. Tom Holland's performance,
Average at
really
best.
good. Second, maybe third best performance in the movie. I can't tell you about the first two. They're amazing. I
should
just
I hand it
can't.
to someone
Like,
else? Do you want someone else to talk?
Yeah, like I don't know what else I can say about this movie. There's so many spoilers. Like, this whole movie is just a spoiler.
Yeah, so kudos to anyone that hasn't seen this movie and has actually stayed away from all that stuff, because it is everywhere now. Like, they're not hiding anything anymore. Between cast interviews and pictures online, like official promo pictures from the movie that Sony is releasing itself. Like,
I
that
would
shit's
be
out there
spoiler-
now,
I would be spoiler free if I didn't appear on this podcast.
which is probably true.
Yeah.
That's the only place I've heard these spoilers or seen them.
It's because you don't social media much. Outside of, like, anime and hentai or something.
Josh, so what do you think of the movie?
Well, I would also
I'm sorry, that was out of
for all the things that we're trying to conceal, we can direct listeners to episode 247, which we did only like 4 weeks ago. So it's there. You can hear all the thoughts.
that is spoiler heavy. So
Right.
if you want to get all the stuff we're avoiding, that's where
Right,
to go.
right.
There is a spoiler warning in it, so that you know when.
Exactly. Yeah, thought very highly of it.
That's it.
Is there much
How can
else?
you talk about this movie without
to say?
spoilers? How?
Yeah, so Mike's right. It does show up on my list later on. There's only 2 spots left, so it's one of the 2. I love this a lot. I went in with high expectations. I think it met or even exceeded those expectations. We talked about it on the review. John Watts has a fucking fantastic trilogy under his belt for the MCU. Between Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, those are 3 goddamn good movies. Like, up there for me for, like, the Captain America trilogy, which I think are all really, really good. So I really want to see what he does next. Like, he's got Fantastic Four coming up, so let's see what he does there. This
The curse.
I would maybe I would love to see it. It's up in the air whether Tom Holland's coming back. Like, nothing in the press or anything is official if he's coming back. There's talk one way or the other. I'd love to see him come back. I think he
Well, you know what
embodies
it
this
comes down
character. What's that?
You know what it comes down to?
The money.
No, well, I mean, that, and he gets his name where Robert Downey Jr. was the very top of the poster
Oh yeah.
as an EP as well.
Yeah, that could do it. Yeah. Giving them the back end deals for the box office and
Which
get
is
all their
kind
money.
of wild considering their age difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's tied to Spider-Man, right? Like, Spider-Man is the character that everybody seems to gravitate towards and like. So if you put a good actor in that role, not to say, past Spider-Men have not been good.
I mean, Topher Grace was good. I mean, I think the issue
Topher
people
Grace.
had... Topher Grace was great. I think the issue people had with the Amazing Spider-Man movies was the films were bad, not
Right,
the
it's
Spider-Man.
right. It's
himself
not
was
the
bad.
actor; it's the story around the actor. Yes, that's what I was getting to. Yes, yeah. I'm trying to be skittish as well. If you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it. I would think you'd probably have to see some other Spider-Man films and some other MCU movies a little bit just to figure everything out and
Is there
follow along
specific
with what's
Spider-Man
going.
films I should see?
That 70s show where Topher Grace shows up, you should.
The trailers show you there are
Definitely
past
watch that.
villains that show up. I would highly recommend going back to see some
Do
of
I
the
have
other
to watch
Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, they show you the
I
main
didn't watch them,
trailers.
so that's why I'm
The
asking.
main trailers show you.
You want a short
um,
answer, Ian? Yes.
I should
Yes.
watch Amazing
You
Spider-Man.
should watch
Yes.
all the previous Spider-Man movies. How about that?
Oh, even
We'll just-
the Indian one?
We'll just cover your base.
what?
As much Spider-Man as you want to
Bollywood.
consume. I'm not going to tell you not
Hollywood
to.
Spider-Man.
Start watching them all. I don't care.
Yeah,
It's Spider-Man.
Just,
Also play the video games?
yes.
For the movies, no, but I would highly recommend playing the video games. Yes.
We don't have to tell
Even
the
the
audience
Engage
this.
one?
Yes.
Okay.
All the Spider-Man, yes.
Good.
You have to play every different version of Maximum Carnage that they put out. They're all slightly different, and it all matters.
That sounds like a Venom game, so no.
Yeah. So anyway, Spider-Man's good. Go see it. It'll pop up again on, I'm sure, someone else's list, if not mine. Ian, you're number 3.
So I think this might be the second highest praise I can give a film. It is my highest rated live action film, Dune.
Okay. I thought it was going to be higher for you.
Whoa. Second, this is your highest rated live action film?
The next two are animes.
So Snyder's Justice League was earlier.
Yes.
Correct.
And this is here. That's amazing. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised.
You're surprised
What?
that Ian put anime movies as the top 2 movies of the last 2 years? I'm not surprised.
I mean, over Zack Snyder and Dune, yes, I'm actually surprised.
This is a real list. I have integrity.
Wow.
We're going to blow past that
I
comment.
will say, I guess ahead of time, part of the issue is that the next 2 movies are conclusions. Or
Okay.
This is a beginning.
That's fair.
Go
ahead.
Since we already talked about Dune, we'll move on. Josh, number 3.
So this might be a curveball, but
Pig!
ever since I saw it, I can't ever find anything that I dislike about
Bloodshot.
it. I haven't rewatched it yet, but I intend to very, very soon. My number 3
Fast 9.
is Cruella.
Wow, okay.
That made Amy's top list as well. She
That came
posted
out.
that in chat earlier.
In the last 2 years, huh?
It was last May, I believe. Just quickly, yes or no, like before I go on, did anyone else actually see this yet?
I have not.
No.
I kind of wanted to, and then it got shuffled around, and I kind of forgot about it, honestly.
Yep.
But with your recommendation, I might have to actually make it a point to watch that.
So Mike, I'm sorry, did you say yes?
I said no.
Oh.
Amy watched it. I did not.
Oh, okay. So it was out for a week or two before we got around to it, and like I was happy. Like we went to the theater, we got out of the house, we did a real world thing, and somebody afterward, I had seen a comment somewhere that a reviewer, as who knows, described it as Joker of the Disney live action movies, and that's actually not that far off.
Okay.
It like once you see it, it actually makes sense. It was
How many dogs die?
the right amount.
101.
I'd watch it.
It's probably it's much more along the lines of what Maleficent did, as opposed to just the remakes, live action remakes of the other stories.
Okay.
Went directions I did not think it would. Came at it from like a fractured fairy tales kind of perspective. Like, you know, how might the lasting perception and understanding of this character have come to be through distortion and other people's perceptions? And for Emma Stone freaking knocked it out of the park. The supporting cast was really, really great. It was so much better than I expected it to be. I thought I would enjoy it. I'm like, okay, they're definitely doing something different with this one. Let's see what it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought it was really damn good.
Did I get wind of a sequel? Are they doing a sequel?
So I guess it's technically greenlit. I don't really want them to do one. I think it's fine where it is,
Okay.
to be honest.
It made too much money.
I think
When
it
it
did.
makes money,
Like,
they make sequel. That's the formula today.
It made enough in pandemic era, you know, early vaccine release era, and had gotten probably great praise, I would hope, that I believe a sequel's been greenlit. I'll give props to the director, Craig Gillespie. He did a couple of, well, at this point, like 15 years ago, did Lars and the Real Girl. He did the Fright Night remake with Colin Farrell and Anton Yelchin. He did I, Tonya, if anyone saw that. And then basically Cruella was his next one. I highly, highly recommend it.
Did it have anything to do with the dogs?
Yes.
Okay.
For
Yes.
me,
I'm just wondering if
this
it was just like,
is-
because like the Joker spoilers That's nothing to do with Batman. Really.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
No, in that way, dogs are, and yes, they're there.
For me, this is something I didn't watch very intentionally. I have a very close connection myself to dogs. And people who are cruel to dogs, I don't believe that there is a penalty that is harsh enough. And so seeing movies like this...
You don't need to worry about that.
Really?
For especially any of the reasons you're thinking of, no.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it twists it. It twisted it enough that it's cool.
I mean, it would have to be rated R to punish her properly. If you're cruel to dogs, fuck you. I'm just gonna say that. I feel like our podcast can agree with that, right? I don't think I'm out of line saying that.
I think Michael Vick served his time.
That's the thing. You will come out of it thinking I did not, especially if that's where you are right now. It is not the story you think it is whatsoever.
Okay, that's good. John Wick, yes, that right, Leslie. Let's just unleash John Wick on Cruella after she touches his Dalmatian.
Yeah. Anything else to add for Cruella? I guess, Josh, you're probably the only one that has seen it, so I don't know if anybody else has anything to add. Nothing? All right. We'll spin over to, I guess it's me for number 2. So, out of the movies I think we reviewed, the ones I've probably been anticipating, I think it's probably not surprising that... Oh, shit. It's me clicking around. So, obviously, I think there's probably 2 movies that probably would have ended up at my top 2. If you know me, if you know what I've been talking about, it's one of these 2. So it's just a matter of which one went where. Number 2 for me is Spider-Man No Way Home.
What?
That came in at number 2.
Okay.
So since we've already talked about that one, I will spin over to Mike for his number 2.
You may want to check the video feed.
Yeah, I got it.
He's
it fixed. Like I see the gray screens that you're talking about. I guess I'm on more of a delay. Sorry. Number 2 for me is No Time to Die.
Wow.
Okay.
Did we talk about that yet?
Yes,
We did.
I thought
we talked about that
Skyfall.
earlier. Wow. Thanks. No Time to Die was fantastic. I think honestly the best Bond film ever, and in any other year would have been my number 1, but not this year.
Okay. I gotta remember what the rating was for that.
I'm sure
60
you can
and
just scroll
50.
up.
I got it. All right, so Ian, you're number 2.
Not on Rotten Tomatoes. Shirobako the movie. Director Susume Mizushima has directed some of my favorite series over the years, such as Girls Under Panzer and Prison School. They returned to the director and storyboard chair for Shirobako the movie. The story is set 4 years after the events of the real Shirobako anime. Ao Miyamori keeps dealing with the ordinary troubles in her daily work at Mushino Animation. After a morning meeting, Tanane wants to talk to Ao and puts her in charge of a new theatrical anime project for the studio. The project has unexpected problems, and Ao is unsure if the company can proceed with a theatrical anime in its current state of affairs. While dealing with that anxiety, Ao meets a new colleague named Cade Mia. She and the Musani team work together to complete the project. We, again, get the girls struggle in the beginning of their careers. Even as our lead, Miyamori, has become more dependable over the years, she still has her struggles to bring the project together as a whole. For big fans of the original TV series, this movie brings back everything you were missing and more. The grand conclusion of friends coming together as they truly support each other. An absolutely beautiful film, and as they say, Don donuts, let's go nuts. Shirobako is an anime about making anime. It's a group of people working at an anime studio, and it's a behind-the-scenes look on the actual struggle of making anime. Unlike traditional Western TV shows, outside of South Park, that are filmed weeks in advance, anime are usually delivered day of to the studio to air. It is very up against the buzzer, and this movie and this series do not shy away from that. And it has a great cast of characters through all walks of life. You have a guy that works there that's in his 60s that has worked on anime from the he worked in the 60s on anime, and he's now just there to help out occasionally if they need him. He's not a huge involvement. You have a director for the anime they're making in the anime who his last project was a complete abject failure that it got canceled early because they just couldn't finish it. They literally just had still frames with dialogue over it because they just ran out of time to finish it. And it brings in that early struggle, I think, that connects with me as a Gen Zer of being that young and early in my career, that I get that struggle of trying to fit in at the workplace and just really trying to make it my own, and that kind of imposter syndrome of, do I deserve to be here? And I think this film and this series have done that amazingly, and then put it through the eyes of something I truly enjoy, anime. And I think the original series I think is just really good, but this movie would stand on its own if you guys wanted to watch it, and it still gives you that picture of, wait, how did they make this? And I think you guys might appreciate that too.
So you're gonna have to spell that for me again, because I lost track of what the title of that was.
If I say Shiro, do you know how to spell that?
Shiro.
And then BAKO.
KO.
The movie.
Okay. Got it.
If there's one thing in that your passion for anime does, is you bring forward things that are actually quality in the genre.
Thank you.
Because I think, as with Hollywood and television in general, it's really hard to decipher what's worth watching when you don't know much about the content. And there's a lot, especially today, on all the different platforms that we deal with. There's a ton of anime flooding these platforms because it's more popular than it's ever been before. And it's a little bit overwhelming to look at it, and all these series that have hundreds and hundreds of episodes. What do you actually invest time in that's worth watching?
The investment, yeah.
Yeah, because it's so much time investment to catch back up on some of these things. And your insight into saying, this is actually quality content is very valuable. And it will help me make decisions about what to keep up with. Because there are certain things that I would like to catch up with and keep up on. And if it's good content, I'm there for it. I don't care about the medium or anything like that. As long as it's good, I'm there. Is the story good? Is the content good? I'm there. But yeah, more information will help us navigate this new world of anime to a lot of us older boomers much better.
Thank you for finally admitting it.
Yeah.
So
Being
Brian
humble.
offered, because there's a new Mission Impossible coming out. He's like, hey, maybe you could come over, watch a couple of them, and then I could also just watch the rest on my own or some shit, so I could be caught up. And now I challenge him to watch Shirobako.
Oh, jeez. Is that
Once.
really
One
available
movie.
somewhere to stream?
No,
Okay.
you're gonna have to buy it.
Do you own it, Ian, and you're not going to let him borrow it?
Correct.
Make me pay money for something like this.
It's called a challenge, Josh. It's not a request.
Even though part of that was, come to my house and I'll sit with you and watch the Mission Impossible. It's like, well, can't you just bring it to my house with you when you bet? No, I cannot.
Just like this podcast, I'm forced into it.
We have a lot of dirt on Ian. He's being held here against his will.
A lot of that's also my fault for talking about Googly Eyes so much in the early days.
That's fair. Some of those probably
We could
got
release
filtered
this
out.
to his employer, and he won't last long once they hear about all the stuff he's done with Googly Eyes.
I won't
If
last
you want
long
to
in
hear that,
society.
though, we still have the podcast post publicly, so you can go back and listen to it.
Of course, I don't remember what episodes those were.
Just listen to the clip shows.
That's true.
We'll look it
Some
up
of those
if he
gotta still
decides
exist,
to leave
yeah.
someday.
As he
We will
incriminates himself
post
further.
publicly, we'll post a list.
Speaking of, as a reminder, once we finish the Ghost in the Shell and Rewind Theater, I am leaving the show.
He has been on record saying that multiple times, so at this point...
For almost years now, it feels like.
And Brian can just set those to 0.001% on the wheel, and it still looks the
throw
same.
off the percentages.
Yeah.
So anybody have anything to add for Chewbacca the movie?
Not the movie, no.
You
We'll
know
talk
what?
later about the series, Sean.
Right.
He has talked me into watching it. How about
Okay. We'll check back. Josh, your number 2.
Number 2? That's for
that?
Andy, who's
Andy's
not here.
here anymore.
I know, but he'll listen.
Yeah, he will.
Not much else to say. We talked about this earlier, and it ranked this high for me. My number 2 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Oh, all right. Nice. I'm glad it got some, made it that high on someone else's list. I like that.
So another question I'm thinking of now: why are there only 10 rings?
What does the difference to the number of rings matter?
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I don't know if like
What
each
if there was
ring's its own
12?
power.
Would you ask why is there only 12?
Probably.
What if there was 10 million? Why not 30 billion?
Well, then there's too many.
Oh, okay. So what to you would be a good number?
24. Like my favorite
All right.
TV show, 24.
Man, I love 24.
Jack Bauer.
You want to talk
Can I
about
get in there
24 for the next hour?
I
Try to
probably
stretch this
could.
to a
I
4-hour
probably could.
episode.
We are literally almost 4 hours into this goddamn thing. I fucking knew it was going to take this long. We got to wrap up soon. All right, so we'll spin around to my number 1. My number 1 should probably be no secret if you followed anything that we've talked about on the podcast over the past probably
Bloodshot.
year.
Bloodshot.
It is not Bloodshot. Ghostbusters Afterlife made my number 1 spot. I talked about it on the review. This movie was, again, another one that I think I went into with just very high expectations. I was just hoping it wasn't going to be crap. I avoided as much as I could going into it because I wanted to be surprised. I didn't know where they were going.
Pig.
It wasn't Pig. No.
Damn it.
I love so much about this movie. I love the cast. I love what they did with the continuation of the original movies. I am anxiously awaiting where they go from here. I definitely want to see some more sequels with this cast and continue this story, or at least bring the characters back and just do some more Ghostbusting. I'm here for it. I loved it. And I mean, the end of this movie probably gave me one of my biggest emotional responses seeing a movie, period, in the last year. Like I've seen this movie 5 or 6 times in theaters. I have cried every single time I've seen this movie. I cannot help it.
I have a real question.
Hits me that way.
At any point did a small child point, why is he crying, Dad?
If they did, they hid it from me. I didn't see it, so I don't know.
Actually, was one of them like by yourself at least?
I'm trying to think if I have gone by myself.
No, I meant like no one else in the theater, not like with someone you knew wondering why this man's crying next to me.
I don't remember. Most of the viewing experiences I had, I know I went with someone. I can't remember if I snuck out to see one by myself or not.
So I know this has come up because of the TMNT business and those shit movies, but Brian has asked if I've ever seen Ghostbusters, which I have, both of them.
Okay.
So my thing is, I guess, like I haven't seen this one yet because I didn't go to theaters and I don't think it was available anywhere.
Sony's
yet.
stingy about where they end up.
Yeah,
so
you'd have to buy it to watch it right now.
Yeah.
Which I
It might be
won't.
available to rent for like $6 or something, but it's
So
not
I
available
guess-
anywhere without cost.
The most confusing thing for me about this is why it has brought Brian to tears. And I just really want to see it just to figure out what it is that it did. Because I have no idea.
that
other
is
than they
full on
killed Bill
spoilers. So I
Murray.
will not tell you what happened.
I'm not even sure if Bill Murray's in the film, to be clear. I'm just assuming they brought them back, which is part of the reason Brian likes it. But if they didn't kill off Bill Murray or Slimer, then what?
I think so. Without spoilers, I think it's more real world circumstances.
Wait, is this just Don't Look Up again? Just Don't Look
No,
Up.
no. Personal real world circumstances for the cast and crew of the original films. That this movie and it just being made in general. You know what I mean? Like it's not really a spoiler to say that, you know, Ivan Reitman's kid is making this movie. And it holds, I guess, a lot more weight. I don't know who made the last movie that was made in the Ghostbusters franchise.
Paul Feig.
With Paul Feig.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Is he related to Kevin?
Yeah,
No,
you're
I don't know. I
talking
don't
about.
think so.
They're
a
pronounced
movie-
differently, so.
I guess
Feig.
what you're seeing is like a movie that. What's his name? It's
I don't
Ivan
know.
Reitman's kid,
Jason.
Zach.
Jason Reitman.
Zach.
Jason Reitman is coming in
Good name.
and reviving the franchise from his father. And he's doing so with the approval of the original cast that were friends with his father. With the approval of Harold Ramis, who died, who's the only one of them that's dead. He's the only one that's not around anymore. So they're making this with the approval of all these people that were involved with it. The last movie wasn't really made the same way. The original cast didn't want to appear in it. They didn't really care about it. It wasn't something that they gave a damn about. In this one, it's much more, for fans of the franchise, it's an emotional attachment to the franchise.
This is very much a love letter to Ghostbusters.
Yes. And having said all that, it appears in my disappointments. So
I know when you texted, because we talked about the review, you didn't make it on for that episode. You texted me your review, and I was surprised where you ended up with that review.
I gave you the reasons then, and I'll state them when I do my disappointments. I guess since I'm saying it's in my disappointments, I can say it now. The humor didn't feel as genuine as the original franchise to me. It didn't feel as though, I hate to put it this way, it didn't feel like Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis wrote the humor. It felt like this was geared towards kids.
Also, it's not the 80s.
It's not the 80s, but it didn't have the...
And I think the original
dark,
Ghostbusters
sarcastic, like Bill Murray can deliver a line as Peter Venkman like fucking nobody's business in those first two movies, and it's not there. That type of humor is not present. That dark, sarcastic humor to me wasn't there in this movie. This movie's humor was geared towards children. It was geared to give fans of the series some nostalgic moments that were mostly hollow for me, because the overall feel of the movie did not feel the same.
Well, I think I think I said this when we talked about it in the review, but the tone of the movie, like the original one, is basically like, hey, we got three funny guys, let's make a movie for them to do something in. This movie is, hey, we have the backing and I don't know, like weight, I guess, of the Ghostbusters franchise on this movie. This isn't, I don't think this is built, Afterlife is built as a comedy. This is built as, hey, we need to do something with Ghostbusters, and this is a story we can tell about Ghostbusters. When I think the original was like, hey, this is a comedy for... What?
To me, like, that's the heart and soul of Ghostbusters to me. Is the
right, but I think like they were approached differently. Like, I don't feel like this one came at it with like, hey, we're going to make a comedy like the original Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters was, hey, we have Bill Murray, we have Dan Aykroyd, we have Harold Ramis, let's write a comedy. Okay, that we have the script about Ghostbusters, let's make that. This is, it's like the other way. Like, we have Ghostbusters first, and then we want to make a movie out of that. And maybe that's where the change is.
And honestly, without spoiling, I know this is, honestly, we're on very different ends of the spectrum with this movie. Yeah. Without spoiling anything, I can't get into other reasons why it's on my disappointments. But, like, I vaguely speaking about the humor not fitting in with where I felt it was with the first one, I don't feel like it's much of a spoiler. But other things that it does, I'm not okay with.
Okay. All right, we'll slide over to Josh.
That's the best I can do. So, yeah, just pass it along.
For Afterlife, what do you think, Josh?
I think my thoughts really haven't changed since our review of it, episode 245, if anyone wants to go back. I enjoyed it. I didn't have as much of a stake either way going in, I think. I grew up with the originals as well, so it wasn't like I just came to them as adults, but it wasn't really in a position to light my world on fire or disappoint me from the beginning. I just wanted an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
And I spoke my piece about the story elements and whatnot in our review discussion. So
yeah.
Still kind of middle of the road for me. It is what it is. I appreciated it.
Fair enough.
I think I actually said that to you, Brian, when I sent you the text about my review, is that I feel like it was a good movie.
Yeah.
If it stood on its own and it was a standalone Ghostbusters and everything else didn't exist and it was just its own thing, I felt like it was a good movie. But as a Ghostbusters film, I feel like I was disappointed.
Fair enough. Mike, we'll move on to your number one then.
My number one is Dune. We talked about it very thoroughly earlier. Fucking love that movie. It's so goddamn good.
All right. We already covered that one, so we'll move on to Ian's number one. You building up for this one? What do you got?
He's stretching. He's got a lot to say. Breathe deep.
Chief director Hideki Anno returns to complete the series that made him a household name in America. He returns to his series when they made the original TV anime. They ran out of budget and had to cobble together the final 2 episodes, and it was an incoherent mess that ended with everyone saying congratulations. This is the director of Shin Godzilla, and he finally brings his great robot story to a close. In the aftermath of the 4th impact, stranded without their Evangelions, Shinji, Asuka, and Rei find refuge in one of the rare pockets of humanity that still exists on the ruined planet, Earth. There, each of them live a far different day than they usually did when they were Evangelion pilots. However, the danger to the world is far from over. A new impact, the 4th impact, is looming on the horizon. One that will prove to be the true and final end of Evangelion. Finally! The human instrumentality project is set in motion, take 3, and Wily makes one last grueling stand to prevent the final impact. The film blends the unique style of Hideki Anno's vision in a way that was moving to me. This series came out in 96, I believe, originally as a TV anime. Hideki Anno was the director, and he was massively depressed. Depressed. And he made a meta commentary of what Giant Robot series is. What if you actually put a child in a giant robot? They would be fucking scared. It is not fun to be in a robot fighting alien creatures from outer space. It's not fun. And he showed that devastation, that abandonment of your father who only cares what you're giving him because you're getting in that fucking robot. He doesn't care about you as a person. He cares about you proving your mission. It's a coming of age story of a young boy that honestly has no parental guidance. No one in the film ever gives a good indication of what an adult is or even why they're doing what they do. And then that anime ended and they made a movie called End of Evangelion. And that was a retelling of the last couple episodes because they ran out of budget, so they redid it into a new movie. And then Hideki Anno was like, damn, I'm not depressed anymore. So he decided to make the new Evangelion movies. This one, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time, the 4th movie in the Evangelion reboot series. This one is on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a complete retelling of the Evangelion story with wildly different story, narrative, choices, but it is beautifully shot and animated. There's a special feature sequence in one of the first 2 films where they just recorded an audience reacting to it, and I don't know if you guys know this, Japanese audiences are like taught not to react. So like usually when they're doing like a comedy show, like a late night show with Jimmy Fallon, they zoom in on, like, when they're doing bits on the street, they zoom in on actors' faces on set to show them laughing, to show the audience it's okay to laugh. Because they would politely not laugh, because they're not supposed to. This audience was stunned at what they saw on screen. As Mike said, Shin Godzilla is one of the best kaiju movies probably ever made, and Hideki Anno came back to where he really built himself, not just in anime, but in giant robot anime, and he delivered the quintessential film to end his series, and I'm just happy that it finally came out. This movie was actually delayed, not just because of COVID, but because of Shin Godzilla. So here we are finally ending the series that started in the 90s that I caught on Cartoon Network's Toonami back in the day and helped me fall in love with anime in the first place. And now it is finally here. It is over, and God willing, it'll continue forever.
So you're the first one to have a movie with a critic rating of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I win. I think there's only 6 critics, if I remember right.
So the number's a little bit skewed, but yeah, we'll take it.
It counts. It has a critic rating.
So is it like I heard Kids and Robots? Is it Pacific Rimmy? Like, I don't. Is that kind of the thing of it?
I mean, they're not like moving around, and it's not dual robots, but it's
okay.
Like they're all like about 15 years old, and they're placed into like a pod that gets inserted into the robot, and they control it with more regular mechanized controls you would expect from like a 90s robot film. like that kind of like more of a Power Rangers kind of thing,
Okay, gotcha.
or like Voltron
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it's these kids fighting, and you have Shinji, our main character, who is depressed and doesn't get why he's doing it, and only came to do this because he thought his dad would finally say "good job," and he, spoiler, doesn't. You have Rei, who is just a blobless, motionless girl who has no real emotion and is just doing it because they told her to. And then you have Asuka, the fiery redhead, who's doing it because she wants to be the best because she is the best. Or at least that's what she thinks she wants.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
very
It's
best.
a really great story that there's a lot going on. It's kind of like Spider-Man, I think, in that sense, where it's really a coming of age allegory more than anything. And this is one of my favorite series ever. Like I said, the originals I loved. I love these new 4 movies, and they're, like I said, brilliantly shot. The animation is superb. They really spent that extra time and budget you get when you're making a feature film. And I believe this is one of the highest grossing films in Japan, not just anime films.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting to me. I obviously haven't seen it, but
And
So,
the whole
there's
thing is
how
on
many
Netflix.
films in the series?
4.
And is
4
there
for
like TV
this
shows
reboot
and stuff
series.
that needs to be caught up on too, or just movies?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Is there like shows and all that attached
There's-
with this as well, or just movies?
There's shows in a movie that's a sequel to those shows, but they're a different storyline.
I'm already
Same
confused.
characters,
So
different
parallel,
story.
but not necessary.
No, it's a retelling of it. It's like a reboot.
Okay, so the movies can be watched on their own without
Correct.
the television.
And the whole
I'm
thing's
much
on
more
Netflix.
likely to get into this then, and it's
Yeah,
all
the
on
whole-
Netflix. I'm in. I'll watch
the
this.
original series, the sequel movie to the series, and then these 4 movies all on Netflix, and I think people should check them out. And obviously, they have great titles like Evangelion 3.0 plus 1 Thrice Upon a Time.
oh, I
We can
missed part of
disagree on
time?
the great title part, but agree on the fact that I will watch them.
It's 3.0 plus 1.0. That's how you get the 4. It's the 4th movie.
When I looked it up, it was plus 1.01.
Plus
Not just 1.0, 1.01. 3.0 plus 1.01.
Oh, yeah, sometimes it is. I don't want to get into it. There's a whole nother thing. And then Thrice Upon a Time.
Okay. Yeah, I
3.
got that.
So thrice. Like a trident. And it actually, minor spoiler, the film ends with live action footage, and it's just kind of fun because it came out, in the middle of COVID, and just like beautifully well shot Japan being open again was kind of weird to see almost. Like it was jarring. It
Yeah.
was weird.
So now to be clear, it's on Prime, not on Netflix.
I
Because
thought it was
this-
on Netflix. They have the
On
rights to
IMDb,
anime.
it shows it as Prime Video. Like it's
Ah.
actually in the advertising for this film.
I know they have the rights to the original anime, so I assume the new 4 films were also on there, but I might have been mistaken about that.
Okay, so it might be a little bit split then.
I'm gonna double check right now
Possibly.
while Josh reveals his number 1 movie.
That's fair.
All right, Josh. finish
Wait,
this
does
off
anyone
here.
else see this? I forgot to ask.
I'm gonna watch it.
Quick answer is no. No, I have
No.
not seen this.
Yes, the answer is no.
Josh, your number 1.
I think I was kind of surprised myself at this action. I did not set out for really any particular thing to top the list. But sort of as we were doing our 2022 list with Batman, I had said like it got in this slot and I just couldn't find anything to put above it. And so this is where it stayed. My number 1 is Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah,
That's a
alright.
quality pick.
It was too predictable, and I was surprised that it came out that way. Like, there's no reason for it not to be there per se, but like I said, it almost feels like the easy answer this year. But
Right.
yeah, when I thought about it, I'm like, that really was pretty damn good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't argue that one. Ian, did you confirm where it's at?
I was typing in chat. The original series and sequel movie is on Netflix. As Mike said, the other 4 movies, including the one on my number 1, are Prime.
Okay. All right, so we've got our top 10s. So I will try to rehash all of these. All right, so
Say the
my-
name. Say the. I'm just waiting for you to say my number 10.
Oh yeah, well, I should just get yours out of the way first, but I'll get there eventually. So my list for my 10. So we have Suicide Squad at 10, Zack Snyder's Justice League 9, No Time to Die at 8, Bad Boys for Life at 7, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings for 6, Free Guy at 5, Mitchell's vs. the Machines at 4, Dune at 3, Spider-Man No Way Home at 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife at number 1. Mike's list. Ray and the Last Dragon at 10, Mortal Kombat at 9, Willy's Wonderland at 8, Godzilla vs. Kong at 7, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City at 6, Don't Look Up at 5, Last Night in Soho at 4, Spider-Man No Way Home at 3, No Time to Die at 2, Dune is his number 1. And this is where I butcher all of these fucking names. Ian's
He
10.
wants to watch you do all of them, too.
I know, he's waiting on bated breath. Ian's number 10, Fate, Grand Order, Divine Realm of the Round Table, Camelot Wandering, Agaterum? Close?
Good enough. I'm surprised you didn't stumble over before that word.
I'm very
Just
proud of
'cause of the
myself.
late-
right
The
now.
other
You have
ones
no
are
idea.
all just general English words, to be fair.
I fumble English all the time, so it's fine. That was his number 10. Suicide Squad, number 9. Goblin Slayer, Goblin's Crown, number 8. Zack Snyder's Justice League at 7. Gatami, The Very Final at 6. Mortal Kombat at 5. The Matrix Resurrection. That's the one I messed up. The Matrix Resurrections at 4. Dune at 3. Shirobaka, the movie at 2. Evangeline 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time at number 1 for Ian. Come on, not
That
bad.
was-
That wasn't bad.
I was surprised how good that was.
I'm proud of
I
myself.
feel cheated.
For Josh, his 10. Number 10, Palm Springs. Number 9, Last Night in Soho. Number 8, The Invisible Man. Number 7, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Number 6, Suicide Squad. Number 5, Eternals. Number 4, Fear Street 1978. Number 3, Cruella. Number 2, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. So the spreadsheet has calculated our averages. Let's see. That puts me at a Rotten Tomato critic rating at 82.6, audience rating at 92.3. Mike ended up with a 70.8, critic rating 85.2, audience rating. Where's Ian at? Ian still has a couple missing because they're not on Rotten Tomatoes, but so he ended up at a 76.8 critic rating, 84.8 audience rating. Josh ended up at 83.6 critic and 88.9 for audience. So that puts... Now I gotta scroll over and see.
It doesn't matter who came in what place.
Oh, we're not going with who got the best one?
I mean, I did because mine are uncategorable.
Actually, it looks like No, Josh has the best critic, 83.6, and I have the best audience at 92.3.
Which is proof that you had the worst movies.
Sure, yeah, if the audience is behind it, that's fine.
I think that's the first time I've won anything on either of those in all these years.
You guys do this every year?
Yeah, usually.
Sucks to suck.
All right, so I was joking this was going to be 4 hours. We are over 4 hours right now, so let's very, very quickly. I know we have a couple honorable mentions to get through, some disappointments, surprises. Oh, before I forget too, also, Andy phoned in his list, so I will go through Andy's list of 10.
Yeah, let's hear Andy's first.
So Andy's list of 10. Number 10 for him, Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 9, Godzilla vs. Kong. Number 8, Wonder Woman 1984. Number 7, Black Widow. Number 6, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Nice.
Number 5, The Green Knight.
Ooh,
Number 4,
I'm jealous.
Willy's Wonderland. So it made it up to the top 5. 3 is Dune. 2 is Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 1, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
So Dune was consistently 3.
Dune had this spot picked out. Everybody, I'm surprised it didn't make number. Well, it did make number 1 for Mike, but I'm a little bit surprised it didn't end up higher for other people. I think, but still,
Anime happened.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, I will quickly go through a couple honorable mentions that I have. I did put Sonic on my honorable mentions. I think that was a great movie. It surprised me still. That was the movie I saw in theaters right before lockdown. So that was my hey, this was a fun movie. This was the last one I saw. So that
Did
holds
you
a
go on
special place.
Valentine's Day?
It might have been opening weekend. I don't remember if it was Valentine's Day specifically.
Well, that was opening day. That's
Okay,
why.
I maybe I can't remember. So that was one. The Kingsman. I'm gonna put that as an honorable mention. I love the other two. This one was still fine. It has a twist in the middle of the movie that I did not see coming. Like, literally, someone I saw it in the movie with that was a complete stranger down the end of the row literally said in the theater, I did not see that coming when this happened. Like, that was just kind of fun.
Did you boo them?
No.
For talking?
No.
Boo this man.
Boo that man. Yeah. Fuck that guy. Shut up. It's a movie theater.
Black Widow made my honorable mentions. I think it's great. I just thought everything else was better. Jungle Cruise was a movie that I thought was really fun. I enjoyed that one a lot, surprisingly. Eternals made my honorable mentions, and last one I have is Encanto made my honorable mentions. I thought that was really fun too. So I'll try to finish typing all this stuff up as you're going, Mike. So what do you got?
Okay. I actually just was talking with chat about Encanto. I thought that was a 2022 release.
No,
So
yeah,
it
came
was
out.
not even considered
Yep.
because I didn't realize it came out right at the end of 2021, like the very end, like right at
Mhm.
Christmas, I guess, is when it came out. Encanto would have been on my top 10, probably in the top 5. That movie was fucking gold. It's awesome. The music in it was awesome. The characters awesome. Jungle Cruise also was a really fun movie that was in my honorable mentions. And we talked about Shang-Chi. That was an honorable mention for me. I think I brought that up at the time. And the last honorable mention I have is one that I'll say just a little bit about, and that is The Last Duel. Last Duel was directed by Ridley Scott, starring Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together. Shocker. But with Adam Driver and I cannot remember the woman's name who was the lead actress.
The
had it
the chick from Free Guy.
Zoe
Yes,
Deschanel.
same woman. No. Anyways, it handles the very touchy subject of rape in a very unique way that presents it in such a way that it might help some really stupid people understand things a little bit better. In the best way I can put it, it's handled. The movie's presented in 3 terms: from the woman's husband who was raped, his story, the man who was accused of rape, and his story, and it is presented at the end as the truth, which is the story of the woman who was raped. And it presents these 3 individual complete stories as one film, and it is extremely powerful, and it is a period piece. I love that kind of stuff, being kind of a history nerd and stuff, seeing the way that they do this, and the fact that it's literally factually framed around the last crown-sanctioned duel between 2 noblemen is really fucking cool. Just the idea that it wouldn't even matter what the subject matter is, that alone is really cool. And then the way that the story is presented and handled is really well done. Not much of a surprise. Ridley Scott's pretty damn good as a director. He's had his missteps in the past, of course. He's not everything's a home run for Ridley Scott, but most of it is.
Did anybody happen to see like Ridley Scott on his "Fuck You" tour on the press junket for that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Just
was
caught the news of it afterward.
he was flapping off at the tongue a little bit.
Saw a clip of like somebody asked him, "Oh, this is more grounded than some of your other movies." He's, "Oh, fuck you, sir. Yeah, fuck you, fuck you." He just
Yeah.
fucked the guy off.
Yeah, he was really squeezing that rubber duck.
It was an interesting lead up, which I think is a lot of the reason it didn't get
Maybe.
more attention. But yeah, that would be it for my honorable mentions. Are we doing disappointments at the same time, or are we gonna
We'll go to Ian's.
swing around again?
Ian, yeah, we'll swing back around. Ian's honorable
Okay.
mentions.
So, only 4 movies didn't make my list. My only honorable mention is Godzilla vs. Kong.
Probably would have made his list if Godzilla actually had won.
You know, for all your lead up to this and teasing, I really thought Bloodshot was going to show up somewhere.
It's at number 14. It's on the
Yes,
list,
It is
but
number 14.
Josh, some of your honorable mentions.
First is Love and Monsters. I think Mike said it before that maybe it was Invisible Man was your like first home COVID rental type thing. This was ours. This was a couple of months in, and like we had decided we're gonna splurge and pay that like $20 fee to rent this just to try to
Back
like,
when it
feel-
was going to be 2 months of lockdown. and it was
Exactly.
just a few movies you were going to do that for.
right. And try to and it was a lot of fun. I had actually been looking forward to it. I had tried to put it on. I think it was an honorable mention for 2020 of like anticipated movies for that. And Brian and I had this whole thing that we figured out a couple weeks ago where the movie had actually changed titles between that point and when it was released. But it has Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, and Michael Rooker. This was really fun. It was cool. A Quiet Place Part 2, a movie called Boss Level, which was like another Groundhog Day type of
I
thing.
meant to watch that.
Oh, holy shit, you're gonna love it. With Frank Grillo and if you want to watch a story where Mel Gibson is put in a position where his character gets murdered over and over, check this out.
But is it redeemable?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like is Gibson
Mel
redeemable?
Gibson. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't know
no.
what I just said words.
No. But it's actually really fun.
That's on Hulu, right? Didn't I see
Yes.
it on Hulu? Okay.
Yes. I included Old that I mentioned earlier, that Shyamalan movie from last summer.
Shyamalan actually brings it back around with that.
Yeah.
From
It was
his-
actually back to kind of good form. Hopefully he doesn't, because I thought the same thing when he
Okay.
did.
I was put off because he's been off for a while.
Well, it's
Right.
like I did the same thing. Like he did Split, and I'm like, holy shit, he's back. And then he did Glass, and I'm like, he's himself.
Never mind.
But no, old was kind of good. I got to mention Tenet, right? I don't think anyone understands this movie, but it's so freaking different that it has to be good eventually.
It's one of the ones I wanted to rewatch before this, and I just didn't. Like,
Yeah.
I only saw it once in the theater. I bought the 4K. I have
Oh,
not
okay.
watched it since. I just have it sitting. Because, again, that's another long
It's a
movie that it's
task.
like, do I want to figure this? Do I really want to sit and digest this and try to figure this out? But at some point, I will want to. And I
That's
think
a-
it's going
that's
to
a
get
good
better
point.
with
Yeah.
that.
There's something about that movie it's different from Inception, where I could still enjoy Inception the next 10 times I saw it before I finally understood it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Tenet, I don't know if I
This
can do
is-
that again. I have to, I think I have to be able to understand it the next time I'm seeing it, or else, not to say that there's not anything else redeemable or enjoyable about it, but there's not going to be anything else that's wowing me or surprising me yet. In the way that like Inception still had just like that awesome way of
And there's
shooting
a
stuff
fight
and
scene
choreography
that
and
is
whatnot.
in the middle of that movie that I don't know how the fuck they did that, and I
Mhm.
need to figure that out because it is amazing.
Yeah, the
Mirrors.
action sequences in Tenet were impressive.
Yeah, and pretty much everything that I learned, like they did so many practical things in there that like, it's not like manipulation of film, it's not CGI, it's really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one actually was Encanto.
Okay.
I'm actually sad I didn't realize that was a film that was eligible. We watched it like a week ago.
We can start over.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good point.
Roll back
My
the
number
clock.
10.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, quickly. Disappointments. Coming back to me. 2 disappointments for me: Wonder Woman 1984 and The Matrix Resurrections. Those were the 2
Fuck
that
you.
pop out immediately to me that end up on disappointment lists.
okay. I'll just. I'm gonna get a couple of fuck yous, but Wonder Woman 1984, yes, that's a disappointment for me. Matrix Resurrections, also a disappointment for me. Ghostbusters Afterlife, also a disappointment.
fuck you for me.
me. I like I said, I knew it was coming from a couple angles on that one, so those were my 3 in disappointments. I'm sorry.
Ian, any disappointments?
Willy's Wonder Place, Free Guy.
What did we
Shit
so
on everybody's
enjoy?
movies.
Aftermath,
No, right, moving
Spider-Man,
on.
Far From Home, Shang-Chi.
Far From Home isn't even the name of the one that came out this year.
Josh,
Cedar
disappointments.
Valley.
Josh, disappointments.
Yep, mine.
Fast 9 was an awful film, and I can't believe they released it. I was terminally upset that John Cena's now in the films in the worst possible role.
Wait, is
And
this legit for you? This is on your disappointment list?
No, I believe
yes.
this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I am stunned that they made so many critical errors. The only redeeming part of Fast 9 is Tyrese realizing that they're in a movie, and that's about it.
Which has no
And then-
payoff. Like
And then, what?
that movie, that little bit does not have a payoff. Like they set it up like it's gonna go somewhere, and it doesn't.
No. And then following that, in my Vin Diesel disappointments of the year, Bloodshot was a bad film.
Did
I
you rate
think-
it, like
expect it,
positively?
though, to
What
be-
did we
Yeah.
talk
I gave
about
it a 5, which, yes, for our crew was a positive review.
To be fair, that was one of the first ones we reviewed. Our rating system is altering itself over time. On the Fast 9 thing, I would say I don't consider it a disappointment for myself because I had no expectations.
The other 8 are good.
I had no expectations.
Oh, you're right,
It
Josh.
could
the other
not
9.
possibly disappoint me because my expectations were so low.
Did you have any other disappointments, Ian, or just those two?
No, I'm out of films.
Okay. Josh, disappointments.
I feel bad that we're all shitting on this, but Wonder Woman 84. The Lovebirds, which was a comedy that I really
I
wanted
like that.
to be much better and thought it was going to be.
I agree with you, Josh.
Mortal Kombat actually lands on my disappointments. Again, it's like middle of the
Boo.
road, just thought it was going to be better.
Boo.
And this is going to be the hurt one. This was my number one most anticipated of 2020 before COVID hit.
Pig.
Halloween Kills.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was. I agree. You know what? Add that to my disappointments. I agree with Josh.
That's
that
probably. I
Was,
have to go back and that's probably the first time even like my top 3 anticipated landed on disappointments, perhaps. But yep, that's it.
the series reboot was so good, and then I
Yeah.
don't know what happened.
Then Halloween killed itself.
Not a strong.
Well, thank you
follow-up
for
from
joining
that.
us
Not
on
yet.
Bad Guys.
It's going to take another shot at doing that this year.
Whoa,
so.
whoa! I wrapped up the episode of A Zinger. Let's go. Let's close this.
Zinger.
All right. Last
Plug
thing.
the shit.
Last thing,
Plug
very
it
quickly.
already.
Any other surprises that you guys want to talk about? For me,
What the
the-
fuck? Are you serious?
I told you this was happening. You knew what we signed up for. My 2 surprises, I think I mentioned it earlier. Mitchell's vs. the Machines and Free Guy were my 2. Mike, you have any surprises?
Willy's Wonderland. It's on my list, but it still counts as a surprise because holy shit, who would have thought that was going to be amazing? And no, that's it. That's all I got. Willy's
Okay.
Wonderland was really, I never would have pegged a Nick Cage movie like that to have made my list.
Ian, anything?
Bloodshot. I can't believe they made such a good Vin Diesel film when you have that kind of character. I don't know.
Okay, nothing. We're moving on. Josh, any surprises?
No.
Okay. All right, well, that concludes our list then. We are finally done 4.5 hours later.
Just cut like the middle part out.
All right, so that's it for us. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and for anyone that actually stuck around this fucking long, kudos to you. Holy shit. This will probably have to be 2 parts because I'm not going to upload a 4.5 hour podcast. No one will ever touch that thing. So
3 parts.
I'm gonna have to, maybe 3 parts. Yeah, I'll have to
And then
cut
we'll
this thing up.
finally watch Steel.
in between all the times I'm letting it. Yeah.
Steel.
So anyway, that's where we're at. Thank you again for hanging out, for watching us, for listening to the podcast, for however many episodes you've done, whether this is your first one or your 250th. Thank you
Your
again
first one.
for
Fuck them.
every podcast is somebody's first podcast. That's what I try
Not
to
what
tell
they
myself.
say.
You literally just
3
said
of
fuck
50.
anybody that was a first viewer. Like, come on, man.
Could be. So anyway, if you want to follow us, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and his Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there. Try to email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. I made the effort to actually check this today, and guess what? There's still nothing in there, so it's not even worth it. Hit us up
I'm
on
gonna email
Twitter
it today.
at BGSuperFriends. If you're here watching live, you know where to follow me on Twitch. It is Jedi Bry Guy, Jedi with an I, Bry with a Y. Whenever we decide to do this again, if we want to do another 4-hour show, this could be where we do it. And for anyone listening to the audio version, I will try to hang on to this live broadcast on the Twitch channel. So if you missed it live and want to come back and watch it, it should still be hanging on the channel. Feel free to pop by and check it out. And that's it. Again, big thank you to the guys. Big thank you to all of you listening, watching, whatever. Thank you again. And on behalf of these guys, Josh, Ian, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening for all these episodes. And we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Bloodshot.